Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Akibatum lil Mustaqim Wala Abrana ila ala Dalimeen. Muhammadin huwa Sayyidina Makbubana inhu kana Sayyidin Mursaleen. Salawatu Allah Ta'ala wa salamu alayk. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters who may show up in the near future. My continued series on the Muslim, to be the best Muslim that you can be. And we will continue now on talking about the establishing the salat in the house. This is so important, especially in today's time, as I said last week about the turbulent times that we live in. So I will talk about some of the key points of establishing the salat in the house. It's so important for us. I don't care if you're in a Muslim state or in a non-Muslim state. This is one thing that is very lacking in our community worldwide, is the establishment of the salat in the house. That doesn't mean that you just get up and you make a salat and that's establishing the salat in the house. There's more to it. And I will discuss some of that. And then, inshallah ta'ala, I will cover the second part of this, which is all the variances of the salat. There's a lot of information about the salat and different things, and I will describe the sunnah prayers versus the farz prayers, and when we talk about establishing the salat inside the house, what you can do, and so forth and so on. And I will cover that in a second part, inshallah ta'ala, bi'ithnillah. So let me give you my proper greetings. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh lil ikwani wa akhwati fi din. Salamu ala mani taba huda lil ikwani wa akhwati fi Africa, Europa, Asia, America, Caribbean, kulli makan. Halin salam bikum. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters, we will get started on this. And I had gotten positive feedback from one brother who was encouraged by me going back to the fundamentals, which I believe we should. I've seen enough over the past year to notice that many of my brothers that are students of knowledge and scholars are moving away from discussing the fundamentals, and they're keeping us back in the 7th century and the 8th century, and that's not doing anything for us as in modern times, or for the new Muslim, because the new Muslim is not being taught. He has to learn on his own, and this is why we have so much innovation and bid'ah is innovation, and we'll have so much confusion, especially in the non-Western world, because we don't have enough students of knowledge and scholars to teach, and those who are teaching are keeping us back into the 7th and 8th century, as I've talked about many times before. So I'm going to go into this establishment of the salat in the house, because it is so important, brothers and sisters. Okay. These establishing salat in the house bestowed on us Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a prayer which nourishes us and protects us. This prayer has the benefits not only in itself that you are in contact, you are speaking with subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are beseeching him, but it also has a value, a health value, if you heard me talk about many times. There's many things that happens to the head, the brain, and so forth when we make sujood. This is what we have that the others do not have. And this prayer is so nourishing and whatnot. If you ever notice something, when you have like a head cold and you go make salat and you put your head down in prostration, and you notice when you come back up, you'll find that the sinuses have cleared. This is a very interesting phenomenon, and scientists have examined top to bottom the Muslim salat, and they have come up with a lot of things, and it's too much here for me to discuss now, but they're on YouTube and in Google. It's a very, very interesting findings that they have found when the Muslim is in his salat. So establishing the salat in the house, subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed a beautiful, beautiful way to pray to him that's far different than anyone else's. And then we had a prophet, Islam, who gave us the ins and outs of the salat. How do we make the salat? And why we make the salat in certain times of the day. So we don't sit and ponder why it comes after certain when the certain times of the day. We do it. We sima ta'a, as we say in Arabic. We listen and we obey. So this is the best Muslim does this. Yes, we're human. We will say, what Subhanahu wa ta'ala was thinking, why he wants us to do this. There's no harm in that regard. But when it gets to festering, where you make doubt, then this is where the minor shirk may come in, and you have to be very careful of that. But we're human, and we'll say, why we're praying at this time, and why we don't pray at this time. This is a normal thing. But we have a prayer that nourishes us and protects us. This prayer establishment inside the house, especially inside the house, is so private that you are in the protection of your home. You don't have an audience outside. You don't have the interferences from the outside world. You are inside your house. And this prayer, even if you're inside the mesh or outside, but it takes on a greater significance inside the house because you are in your favorite surroundings. You are comfortable. You're relaxed. There's no outside influences to bother you in the salat. Shaitan will bother you, and he will send the shaitan to bother you, yes. But the outside world is shut out. You're inside your house, and then here you go speak directly to Subhanahu wa ta'ala in your salat. This is a beautiful thing about the Muslims that we have that the others don't have. The others profess that they have their way of communicating to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to get in that today. I've talked about some of these issues before, but the Muslims have basically perfected a salat that was guided by Subhanahu wa ta'ala and nourished and then disseminated by our Prophet ﷺ. And this is why we are successful in it and why the enemies tried to destroy it. You notice something, the enemy doesn't go after the others to destroy their salat, but they go after the Muslims to try to destroy their salat. That's very interesting. This pillar is so essential for every Muslim to do it. Make the right niyyah for it, understanding its importance to you. Brother, sister, the establishment of the salat inside the home, in particular, as we talk about today, it is essential that every Muslim does this, establishing the salat in the house. And the right niyyah, because now you're in familiar surroundings. You know your house. You know where all of the things are. You know where the kitchen is. You know where the restroom is. You know where the bedroom is and the kid's bedroom. You know where your den, and you know your favorite spots in the house. All these comforts aid you in your salat, because now you should be more comfortable and you should be able to perfect your salat much better inside the house than you do inside the masjid. And understanding its importance to you goes along with that. If you have the right niyyah, Subhanahu wa ta'ala will start to give you the knowledge, and there'll be things explained to you that will help you to understand the salat better. That's if he chooses that. But essentially, the rightful niyyah is needed in this situation in order for you to perfect that salat inside the house. And you have to have the right niyyah. And I'll bring up some other issues to help us to perfect this. As I talked about before, learn the wonderful health benefits from it. We have a salat that's off the charts of health benefits, brothers and sisters. This method of praying as we pray, it is so beautiful, it is so masterful, and it is glorious, and it's a direct medium to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then on top of that, we have the health benefits that nourish us at the time we are making the salat. So we're getting a whole gamut of benefits just from this salat. And this is a beautiful thing. And also, when it's established inside the house, when you have this moment, 5 to 10 minutes of your prayer, the outside world, the bills, the troubles, and so forth kind of dissipate if you have the right niyyah during the time of the salat. Okay, yeah. Here, okay, yeah. Now, so the Muslim should understand the special circumstances allowing prayer in the home. We will get into that. Why the Muslimah receives her best reward in the home. The Muslim in the masjid. Okay, for those who don't understand the Arabic terms, Muslimah is the female Muslim, and the Muslim is in general is everybody. But in this context, the Muslim is the man. And we'll get into some of this. I have some points here to make about that. But we have these certain circumstances because one of the factors is the man is the caretaker of the home, but he's also helping the caretaker of the ummah. He protects it, and also he's protecting the community at large. When there's an invasion or there's like we have, back in the United States where we have night riders just come in the black community and so forth and so on. It's the brothers who go out on the front line to deal with these men. It's not the women. It's not their job to do that. It's the man's job. So in order to have this cohesion, the brothers should make their prayers together. And I'll get more into that. The Muslimah also, I have her talk about her situation and whatnot. But again, as I said, the Muslimah has a more easier path to Jannah than the man. And we talked about the balances, the checks and balances on why we have certain things like this. But we have this here and it's established and it's it's a balanced deal here because the Muslimah shouldn't have to be made to brave the cold wind, the rain, or the dangers from the outside in the nighttime as a man to go to the masjid. That's a man should be able to do that. He should be able to fend off those things. That's his job to do certain things. Now, we're not saying that the Muslim cannot go to the masjid for Salat al-Fajr, but she doesn't get the same reward because her reward is better inside the house because she's protected there. She's in her surroundings. But the man should go. But we'll get deeper into that in a couple of minutes, inshallah ta'ala. And why the Muslim should be the caretaker and protector of the salat in the home. That's your job, the brother. Our brothers, this is your job to do that. It's your responsibility, and you be held responsible for not establishing it inside the house and establishing it correctly. And I'm not talking about lazy salats. I'm not talking about salats that are essentially, no one pays attention to the time. And until you get on everybody and so forth to make their prayers, everybody's praying in their own separate rooms. Your sons are praying out. They don't pray. They're out there talking on the phone with the brothers or their girlfriends, whatever situation, and the sisters gathering with their friends. And then there's 20 minutes, there's 30, 35 minutes, 45 minutes past the salat. Let me give you some of the rulings that we know of modern times. You should engage that salat within 20 minutes after you heard the adhan. Once you heard the adhan in the area, then you have about a window of 20 minutes that should be performed. That's especially if you're going to the masjid, because you have to go through traffic or if you're walking and so forth and so on. They give you up to 20 minutes to make it so that way you can fulfill your salat. But you're inside the house, you should be able to make that salat within minutes. But if some things come up, there's things that happen. I mean, you're cooking or the man's got something happening that he has to take care of. And so he may be a little delayed. But the family should make you as a man, as the Muslim, as the caretaker of your family and the salat in the house, you should make the conditions set. And you should have something, clock or something in there, especially adhan clocks, to set it to show you how many minutes after the adhan, especially those in the West where there's no masjids where you hear the adhan. You have a adhan clock inside your house, it sounds off the iqamah, and the adhan comes off, not the iqamah, the adhan comes off. Now you know it finished. You have about 20 minutes after that in order to make your prayer. So you have to establish those conditions. And it's your job, brothers, to enforce it inside the house. You must enforce this inside the house, assuring it, meaning again that you assure that the salat will be protected and implemented inside the house. This is your responsibility, brothers. Establishing it correctly in the home. This puts the condition on you, brothers, for the knowledge. You must be knowledgeable enough to correct your family and instruct your family and guide the family. This puts more onus on you, brother, and impetus on you to learn the deen and to learn the ins and outs about the salat, so that way you can come inside the house and you can correct the family. Because when you're weak in the salat, the whole family most likely is going to be weak. But we know in modern times, we're seeing this all too often. You heard me say this, and you notice my hate for this. We have the sisters who are more enforcing the salat inside the house than the man is. And I can't stand that. When I hear of brothers doing this and I know who they are and I know them, I tear into them because it is an absolute disgrace. And I don't want any Muslim coming to my house discussing some issue about Muhammad inside the house is not getting up for Fajr prayer, or he's not doing this inside there. I tear into them about this because it's the man's responsibility to take care of the family and to take care of that salat and to enforce it. But how can you enforce it when it's time to make Fajr? Your wife has already made Fajr prayer and your children, and you still laying in bed. Now, brothers, I'm not talking with those who work night shift where your shift starts at 10 o'clock at night. We understand that. And maybe you get off at 4:30 in the morning, and maybe the salat in your area, maybe 5 o'clock. We understand you may oversleep. We understand that. There's some things that happen because even the Prophet ﷺ has overslept. And these conditions do happen sometimes to the Muslim, but every day, no. So we have to enforce it, we have to assure it, and we have to establish it correctly inside the house in this prescribed time, as you heard me say. If the adhan has sounded off at 6 in the morning, say for instance, you have a window of 20 minutes, so by 6:20 you should be saying the Iqamah to start your salat. At least give you a 20-minute window. That's if you're going to the masjid. If you're going inside the masjid, it should be less, but you have up to 20 minutes. You may be tied up into something or something. Things like this happen. It happens to everybody, but you have 20 minutes or so to do it, and you should make a habit to enforce it inside the house that the whole family must complete it, especially when you're not available inside the house and you're out working or so, and you can't establish that prayer and say the kids, everybody inside the house, and mom's inside the house. You make it a point to tell the wife, the Muslimah, our sister, that she should enforce that salat, to make it between 20 minutes, that she go around and make sure her sons and daughters are performing this salat within 20 minutes after the adhan. This is important, brothers and sisters, because once you establish that, Subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that, he's pleased with you. He will put an internal alarm clock, so to speak, inside you, and you will know, you know what, I think I got about 5 minutes left before I got to start prayer. And you will start thinking about this, and then you rush to go make your prayer. Things like this happen. Sometimes you can't make it 20 minutes. We understand that. But especially our sisters, they got food on the table, on the stove, and they got a baby who is crying and so forth and so on. Those conditions are separate. But as a general rule speaking, we have the 20 minutes, and we should keep that prescribed time. We have within 20 minutes to make that prayer to get the full credit for it. And this is what the consensus of many of scholars. Okay, the Nabi, alayhi salatu salam, said, as relayed to him by Omar, radiallahu anhu, quotes him as saying, offer some of your prayers in the home so that to be made home, make these homes like graveyards, like graves. Brothers and sisters, you think about this. How many times you've been to a house, you feel like everything is dead inside of it? I've been to too many homes where it's dead, and you think somebody's died in it. Not meaning that the house is dirty, and I'm not meaning that. But it doesn't have the feeling that salat is being really established inside the house. This is what we're talking about here. And the Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam, made this point. And Omar, radiallahu anhu, he basically said, hey, I'm quoting what the Prophet ﷺ had said, and this is what we should do. We, especially the men, you establish under prayers with the family inside the house on given times. And I'll get into some of these other conditions because it's important that we make this house into a place that looks like that we're worshiping in it, not a place where it's dead. I've been to too many homes, even in Muslim lands, where the house is literally dead. You can feel it. Matter of fact, I look around, I don't even see one Quran in many homes I've been in. Not even one Quran is there available to be read. And sometimes I even test some of the people I know by asking, hey, I want to look something up in the Quran. Many times they don't even know where the Quran is. They go looking for it. I've seen this too many times, brothers and sisters, and this is not good. So we make sure we make our homes in a place of worship. So when the brothers and sisters enter that home, they can feel the malaika, the angels, what I said in Arabic, inside that house. They feel that prayer has been established because the house has some vibrance to it when prayer is being offered inside that house. When it's not being offered, you'll also know that. It gives us the impetus and incentive to establish this beautiful pillar in our homes. We can learn from this hadith how purifying our salat is. It is very purifying. When you start to pray inside that house, it begins to purify the house. It brings light to the house. We've seen this. You've been to houses where you know people are making salat. It has that feeling to it. You look around the house, you see a variety of things that suggest to you that the salat has been established in the house. And you feel it, you know it. This is what we're talking about here. And this is what we want to establish with our brothers and sisters by establishing this salat inside the house. How important it is for us to do this, because it will give you benefits. And this is what we want. We want the ajr, the benefits from subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we established that salat inside the house. It's this important endeavor to do. And it has the benefits as we talked about. So let's all of us start to engage in this and start to establish the salat better. Not lazy salats, not salats that is like it's a burden on you, but a salat with the right niyyah and with the love of subhanahu wa ta'ala in it. And you'll see what happens as a house transforms. As people come over, they'll have this feeling, they'll know that the salat has been established in the house because it has a special feeling to it. Pleasing subhanahu wa ta'ala when we stand and humble ourselves before him. You inside your house now. Perhaps you are a strong brother and you're too proud sometimes to shed tears inside the masjid or outside. But now inside the house, you know you have heavy sin, or you have troubled something because your brother has died, and maybe you've wronged him, or you have committed some sin that's heavy on you. Now you're establishing salat inside the house. Maybe it's time to let go of those tears as you humble yourself in the salat. And there's no harm in that. Matter of fact, it's encouraged by all scholars of every era have made the consensus about this. It has a deeply purifying effect when you let the tears flow. And you notice you feel much better after that. And when those tears are sincere and the tears flow because you heavy heart of things you have done, and you have fear for subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're beseeching him. This is the time, especially the establishment of the salat in the house. Now the brothers most likely can let go, because it's hard for men to let go. We have this problem. This is one thing that helps to kill us too, on top of that, because we have things bottled up. But now we're inside the house, we can let go of those tears. And it's a purifying effect, brothers. I will say this. I've done this. I can't tell you the number of times because it's off the charts. I don't know how but things happen where it does come out and you have this feeling and the tears flow. This is the time here that you do it. You're establishing this prayer inside the house. Now we get into some of the conditions. The brothers are required basically to make their salat inside the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ was adamant about this in a hadith. And he talks about one case, if you know what has happened, where people were not showing up to Salat al-Fajr. And our Prophet ﷺ was very angry about that. And the second part of this, he commanded a man to lead the prayers in prayer, and he would go with some men with firewood to the people who were absent from prayer and burn their houses with fire if he was commissioned to do it. This is what our Prophet ﷺ is talking about in this hadith about the people not coming to, the men not coming to establish salat inside the masjid. Our number one priority about the salat with the brothers is this, is your reward is 27 times greater as you establish this prayer in the masjid, in the congregation, because the community, the brothers, because it's you who will be armed with your brothers in a struggle. If somebody comes to take you out, take out your community, it's the brothers will be on the front line. You should have that cohesion and brotherhood coming to masjid, giving your brother salam, standing next to your brother in salat, and so forth and so on. This should be a unifying effect. But the Prophet ﷺ made it sure. So the conditions is all consensus from every ear that the salat for the man should be performed inside the masjid. And he should perform all 5 prayers. Again, we talked 1400 years ago. We have modern times. We understand this. And I'll get more into that a little bit, but you should know and understand when you live in Compton, California, and there's no masjid, or if there's a masjid, but the masjid is only Salat al-Jumu'ah, and then Salat al-Maghrib and Isha on Fridays only, and maybe Saturday and Sunday, but the other days is not open. So what you going to do? You see, so these, we understand there's a lot of variances and conditions, those who live in the West. The authentic hadith signifies the order that the Muslims should pray in the masjid. Now, it strengthens the congregation of the community. However, this falls more so on the Muslim, not on the Muslimah. She's not required. She's not required, brothers, to go out to the masjid 5 times per day. If she wants to, she can. But if she's married, she must have the permission of her husband, unless her husband gives her, he runs his household. If he gives her a full autonomy, if she decides she wants to go make the salat. Now, the conditions of that, brothers and sisters, is this. You cannot leave the house in shambles, okay, and forego things that your husband likes inside the house. Meaning, you know that if you go to the masjid and your husband's coming home at a certain time and the house is still untidy and his food is not ready and he's been working all day, that's not good. That's not a good thing. He may not give you approval anymore to go to say Salat to Maghrib. So you have to weigh those issues by yourself. But your greatest reward, my dear sisters, is inside the home. Inside the home is the best reward for you. The Prophet ﷺ talked about this thing. And your greatest reward is that. Now, you're required, of course, when we have aid, the Salat to aid and so forth, you should go to make that with your husband and with your family. Yes, it's required. Then you are required to go to that. But the other salats, no, you are required to get your reward. You get your reward inside the house. What do we mean by that? You pray inside the house. Say you pray in your den. You get rewarded for it. And maybe you have a study, like a book study, like a room I have here where I have books and stuff like this. And I have things in it that, help to for your study and so forth. You go here, and which I love to many times make my salat in here, in this room here. I like that a lot. I really like that. I get more enjoyment from that. So the sister, she can pray there. Maybe she has another salon somewhere, she can pray there. But her greatest reward is in her room, her marital room. This is her greatest reward inside the house, is there. And I will cover some of those factors, inshallah, here. The condition for you as a man, the Muslim, as long as you hear the adhan, the call to prayer, he has to respond to it. Since the Prophet ﷺ said he did not permit a blind man from this edict. Even though he was blind, the Prophet ﷺ told him, did you hear the adhan? You must make way to the masjid. And there's no excuses. Now, we know heavy rain, snow, mud, electrical storms, strife in the land. I mean, there's a lot of other conditions. We know this. You are not required. But in general sense, this is a stinging indictment on the man, meaning you must do it. Now, we have conditions in the West and even in Muslim lands where we have some of our scholars and strong Muslims and students of knowledge can't make the prayers in the masjid because of the draconian laws and the war on strong Muslims and the scholars. So many scholars can't go out even to make prayer because they'll get beaten or they'll get jailed or they'll get harassed. And we have that everywhere in Muslim lands today. It's unfortunate. We have this. Some of our favorite scholars are locked up inside their homes. We can't get no knowledge from them. We can't go see them, nor can they leave their houses. They can't even make prayer, even inside the masjid, and you can't visit them. This is why the ummah is hurting, because our ulama are in such a disarray. So the Muslim and the edict means praying in the masjid is obligatory. Secondly, if you can't do that, again in the West or even Muslim land, say you work in construction and you're making a building, you may not be able to leave because you're pouring concrete. So, but there's 5-6 brothers who want to pray. Secondly, this is a congregation. This is approved. You get the 5 brothers, and then one brother be the imam, and he conducts the prayer in a congregation, even though it's on the site of the construction site. There's no problem. And the last is a certain cases and situations dictated, negating the first 2 cases, meaning you can't go out because there's strife in the land. There's maybe you're under lockdown, like remember the viruses, or you're under national security because there's been strife in the land. You can't leave the house, or heavy snowstorms where you can't see, where it's dangerous, and bitter cold, or heavy rain where it's so muddy, you would track that mud inside the masjid. And there's a lot other situations to go along to it. Or the masjid is too far away where you live in, say, Compton, but the nearest masjid is 20 miles away. That's very difficult, especially with the gas situation and so forth and so on. This is what we're talking about in this situation here. Then praying in a house is sanctioned. Just talking about the Muslim, the man. We must take into account modern times, as we talked about, where those living in the West and in the West, masajids are few, which is true. They don't have a lot of masajids and great distances. I told you, when I became a Muslim, I had to travel where I lived at that time. I moved away from Compton many years, but I was living in a community where the masjids, I was in an area where the masjid, when I go east to west, the masjid was approximately 30 kilometers or near about 50 miles apart one way. It was very difficult, especially when you work all day and you go to the masjid and you got to come back home. It's very, very difficult to do, especially the high prices of gasoline. Okay, closing masajids and declaring masjids to be a place of terror or to protect or to a pretext to terrorism. These are conditions that help tell Muslims don't go to the masjid, because the enemies of Islam have made the masjid, they have made war on it. That's why they go all out to close up the masjids. That's why they go out to remove the rightful imams and put cronies inside as imams, because they declared that it's a place of terrorism. 99.9% no terror plot is planned inside the masjid. You don't have time. And how are you going to do it when you have a whole bunch of people inside of the masjid and everybody's getting ready to pray and you have a certain amount of prayer to do and you leave? But the enemy has made it because they know the importance of the salat. So they make these conditions. We have this in the West. I've seen many times YouTube, they don't want to go to the masjid because they know they'll be investigated by the federal agencies and local police because they keep a tab on who's going to the masjid. This is the discouragement. Maybe some brothers are afraid because they had problems before, and you know how draconian the courts are. They would put you in jail over a lie. And I remember there before, there were Muslims leaving the masjid being stopped by police. So they was giving you a message, don't go there. You see, so these things happen. And we know that the brothers have been landed in jail when they have been trumped up charges. We know that dope is something's been put inside their car. And, you know, when they've been in prayer, they go open the car and throw marijuana in it or hashish or something, or throw a gun in there. And then suddenly you go there and they stop you and they find the gun there. You know the deal, what's happening there in the United States. Things like this happen, they target the Muslims in this regard. Put the Muslim under a just scrutiny, investigating them, putting them on watch lists. And then also this other factor I see CARE, you know, our think tank and our lobby group for the Muslims, CARE in Washington, D.C., now is fielding many cases. And I think they have a big lawsuit now where the Bank of America in particular was closing up. I'm a recipient of that. Closing up your bank accounts because you were Muslim. They were doing this. I had mine closed for no reason and $8,000 confiscated from me. And now is a big lawsuit concerning this closure. All of this because you're a strong Muslim and you go to the masjid. People lose their jobs as well because they go to the masjid. This is the things that happen in the West in particular. But in Muslim lands, it's almost as worse in some places where you go to the masjid, you are investigated because they don't want you going to the masjid because the Western powers are in charge in many Muslim states. So they tell them, look, if Yahya goes there, we want him investigated. We want him looked into and we want to scare him. And they're doing this a lot. I know that I'm a recipient of that as well, where they tried to scare me from not going to the masjid. This, and again, this is the policy of our U.S. government who do these type of things like this. So they try to stop you from going to the masjid. There are conditions that weren't present 1,400 years ago. So the ulama have made fatwas in order to help the brothers. Here you living 50 miles away. How can you attend every salat? You cannot. Plus you're working. You have to make a living, especially in in non-Muslim lands. How are you going to go to the salat when maybe your job is 15 miles, even further, making it 60, maybe 60, 65 miles away from the masjid? You see, you can't make that. So this is what we're talking about here. This is to help the brothers in modern times, because there are conditions that, you live in the West, it's just the masjids are far apart. It's not easy to get to the masjids, and you can't make them all because you live in the West, you living under Western rules, and you can't leave your work to make the salat. See, so the ulama understands that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala considers the did I write that right? No, I didn't. Excuse me, brother. I made a mistake there, brothers and sisters. Considers the earth to be a place of worship. Now, inside the Quran, Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that. But we are exceptions. We have exceptions near the bathroom. Don't do that. Grave sites, sewers, unclean sites, debris where debris is present. Meaning, you go someplace where maybe the sheep or maybe cattle, and there's a lot of mess and so forth and so on, and urine and whatnot like this. This putrid place, you shouldn't pray there. It's a place where the devil and the shaitan hang around, so you should not pray there. So you should not pray near the bathroom as well. Those are some conditions. You cannot pray inside the house either. You cannot pray near this near the bathroom. You can't do it. That's not a place for you because it's unclean and it's not. And you know the shaitan and so forth is there, so you stay away from praying near there or in there. Again, the greatest reward is praying in the masjid, 20 times greater reward if it's done in there, inside of it, inside the masjid. This is for the man. Now we get into the nuts and bolts of this, establishing a prayer, preparing the inside of the house as a place of worship. Brothers and sisters, especially you sisters, this is where you come in. You make that house a place where you and your children and your husband can pray and be proud to pray there, and it's in clean conditions. This is where you come in, my dear sister, where you are the manager of the house. It's you know where the things are inside the house. It's you who manage basically the interior of the house. It's you to know how much food is in the refrigerator. Man doesn't know many of these things. I know that. I'm ignorant about a lot of things. I go in the refrigerator, I don't know where something, and I get frustrated. So you know what? It's not, I'm just telling on myself now. I get frustrated. And I'll say my wife come and she goes say, hey, look, it's right here. You know the setup in the house. So this is why I'm saying, you sisters, you know how your house is. You pick a spot for the family to make the prayer together, and you make sure that the house is prepared for it. The worst thing you can do if you try to establish salat in the house is a filthy house. This goes down on you, my dear sisters. It's you. You are the caretaker of the inside of that house and the health basically of the family. You should make sure that house is clean and prepared for worship. And the brothers and sisters both pick an open place where the family can congregate. This is important. Now we're talking about establishing the prayer and how we start to implement it. Secondly, assuring it faces the Qibla. This is important. You may have a beautiful spot inside the house to pray for the family, but it's facing in a direction that is not conducive towards the Qibla. But if you hit an area that you love inside the house, and maybe it may be off skew, maybe you can, if the family's small enough, you can position the family where it can still face the Qibla. This is beautiful. But the sister, you more or less have an idea for this because you run the house. You know how the furniture is. It's you to have this special intuitive knowledge about the house and about how things are. So you should know about where basically we should be conducting the prayer. That's on you to do this. And 3, making sure the place is clean. The worst thing you can do is get ready to go to prayer, establish prayer in the house, and you got debris, you got the kids' toys thrown there, you have a diaper that's there from the baby, or you have chips and a soda or pretzels or something, and you have the place is dirty. This is not right. You should clean that up. 4, with the less distractions like the TV, etc. You don't want a place where the TV is predominant, where people are praying. The TV, even if you put it on, the TV is distraction. You want to get in the area away from that and make the area full like it is. Make it like a holy site by placing rugs and beautiful rugs and so forth and so on, so the family can really get into it. They can feel that this is a good spot for the whole family. And then the more beautiful the rugs, this is a true fact. You notice when you put down, you buy a new beautiful rug, how the effect has, you want to hurry up to go make the prayer on it. When you have a beautiful setup, when the sister sets up the little small masjid inside the house, she knows how to beautify that more so than the man. She goes and beautifies that room or this area for the family to make its prayer. And it's a beautiful thing, especially when you see these beautiful rugs and so forth. It gives you that places like you have like a holy site. We know it's not, but you have that feeling because you see how everything is clean. You have these beautiful mats and so forth and so on. And this is a beautiful thing to establish the salat inside the house of the whole family. And when our sisters, with their ingenuity inside the house, they pick a spot better so than the man, and she has the mats laid out for the husband and for the children and so forth and so on. This is a beautiful thing. Everybody working together inside the house. And now and what's important about that, brothers and sisters? Your sons and daughters, your sons see how moms is taking care of the family, preparing the area for the salat. The brothers, the young men see this in their moms. So they'll want their wives to be like this. Our sisters see their moms, what they're doing. This has effect because they learn when they have their households. See, that's why I'm saying, brothers and sisters, when you establish the salat, there's so many things, benefits to this. The educational benefits, this is what I'm talking about right now. All men in my generation, I've talked about many times, we know about our moms, how they took care of us. They really took care of their sons. I know this. And how they fixed the food. They knew our goodies. They know our snacks. They know our ins and out. We can't fool them. We can't fool our mothers. You know what I mean? And they knew us inside out. So we watch our mothers. We see how meticulous our moms were inside the house. So we try to pick wives similar to that. This is what we're talking about here. So there's a big benefit there, brothers and sisters, when we have this dutiful Muslimah, where she's a role model, where the boy and the girl can watch and learn from her. Incorporating the children to encourage them in family prayer. Let me give you a story, something here. I had my daughter, my youngest daughter, and my other kids, they were already grown. And I had a last child, and my daughter, I got her to start praying with me, and she began to watch, and to the point where she got about 4 years old. And it's funny. I'll tell you a little story, then we move on. I play a trick with her. I said, okay, I'm gonna try and see how well she's made with the salat, because I had a damn clock. Now I'm inside the United States now. I'm in California, and so I would play like I'm asleep. So the Dan would go off inside the house. I wanted to see how my daughter would react. She was 4 years old at this time. She would come and push me and wake me up, and say, Daddy, it's time for salat. Because I start to prepare her. By the time she was 2, she started to even come by me, and she would, like sometimes she would go on the ground when she see me make prostrations, or she would put, her hand on me. But I was preparing her. By the time 4 years old, she knew. When she heard the salat, I say, it's time to salat. She knew. She'd get ready, and we go make the salat. And so I would play these tricks on her. I would sit there, play like I'm sitting in my favorite chair. Like I'm asleep. I didn't hear the damn. She'd come, Daddy, wake up. It's time to make salat. This is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. You must incorporate the children. Youngsters and older children should be made to feel prayer is rewarding and not a burden. We don't want to make the prayer a burden for our impressionable young men and women inside the house. We don't want that. We want to make it enjoyable, and I got some pointers here to make that happen. Turning all cell phones, turning off, and iPad. We know in modern times, our young brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters are now hooked to the cell phones and so forth and so on, and iPads and whatnot, and they're constantly, back and forth talking with their friends. Okay, we understand that. We make sure we have those things turned off and out of commission during the time of prayer. And this is a condition that our man has to establish inside the house. 7, before the prayer, everyone is dressed according to prescribed sunnah for prayer. Our sisters should be covered in prayer. Even though you're inside the house, you know the sunnah for the sisters, and there's a lot of ins and outs about that. I'm not going to get into it because I'm a man. I can give you the general, as I told you, should be covered, but the sisters can talk more in depth about this situation, about their clothing and so forth and so on. But we should be in prescribed sunnah. Now, I'm going to tell you something what I hate in modern times today. We have modern Muslims today who dress in Western clothing and try to make the salat. Some scholars and students of knowledge contend those salats may not be accepted because when the man bends over, you can tell the aura of the man. It should not be exposed like that. This is why you should wear loose clothing and so forth inside my house. I never wear the Western clothing like this. I wear, my gandour, which you see on, and many gandours I have. So when I prostrate, I'm not, my backside and so forth and so on is not revealed. So we should be, according to the Sunnah, sisters and daughters dressed in full, clean garments. You sisters, you more or less should be on your daughters about this. The pops, he knows, but he can enforce the laws. But it's the sisters basically who know, to push this with their daughters. Beautifying themselves prior to prayer. This helps. When you know that you're going to go to make this prayer before Subhanahu wa ta'ala, beautifying themselves before you make the prayer. Don't go through, okay, you know what, it's time to go pray. All right. And you just throw something on and you lazily go there. Yes, you made wudu, but your wudu was not very good and so forth and so on. You can go and put perfume on and make the house, the malaika, happy and so forth and so on. And you put this perfume and so forth and so on to make things fragrant around you, to encourage the malaika. These are things that are ins and outs about the establishing prayer inside the homes, brothers and sisters. The brothers wear garments that cover their pants and according to their parts, as I talked about. And brothers donning beautiful robes and kufis. You get ready to make prayer before Subhanahu wa ta'ala. How are you going to go step up into to make prayer and you got holes in your shirt, or you got holes in your pants, or when you bend over, the whole family can see the crack of the back. You know what I'm talking about, because your pants now gone halfway down. This is what I'm talking about here. This is not good. Many scholars contend, and I agree with them, that this salat is not accepted because it's vulgar. Why should a man he bend over and half his rear end is showing now when he bends over? So you wear beautiful robes and you wear a kufi. You should beautify yourself too, brothers, when you make your salat. You can ask my wife. She'll tell you straight out. I have all kind of gandours here that I wear to make my salat. They cover my outer. You will never see any of my rear end being exposed in this fashion. So brothers should don beautiful clothes and robes and gandours. If you don't have them, you go to the Islamic stores if you can afford it, brothers and sisters. If you can afford this, I'm just only generally talking about this. Or you order it, now you have everything in the United States. I remember I used to order in 2005, I ordered many tobes, gandours, we call it in Moroccan language here, in Arabic, and you order these things and they can come to your house. It'll make you feel like a Muslim because you are conservatively dressed. You should do this. In the event the family cannot congregate, the sisters' room should be beautified. Giving our daughters lessons in beautifying themselves for salat. Now, what do we mean by this? The brothers, in this case, you should make, when your wife says, you know what, I want this, I want this, I want these type of rugs, I want that. Brother, you get your wife that, and you beautify your daughter. You make sure your daughter has this perfume that she likes, and your wife, and so forth and so on. You make them feel like they are princess, okay? And you give them the perfumes, you give him the rugs, and so forth. They say they want certain things like this, you give it to them for them to make the salat. Maybe when you can't make the salat with them, say, okay, I'm saying for instance, because you come home real late at night. So the daughter, she's working, making her homework and so forth and so on. So she knows it's time. She knows dad has set the bar inside the house. She heard dad inside the house. Now she has to get up from homework and she beautifies herself quickly and she dons beautiful clothes on and then she make her prayer. But she can't do this if you don't give her this. You should make it a priority, brothers, to beautify your wife and your sister and your daughters, inside the house for the salat. Especially our daughters. You have them to make themselves beautiful. Make them into little princesses, and you see them, and when they make their salat, you see them covered in beautiful garments. This is the right way to establish salat in the house. That's why I told you earlier, it's more than just making a prayer inside the house. There's a lot of integral movement and things to make the salat right. Beautifying yourselves is one of them. And we're lax in doing this inside the house. We just go. The clothes we have on, we have short pants. I know it's hot, and we go and make the prayer. This is not good. Buying, excuse me, brothers and sisters. Yeah, okay. Yes, okay. I was wondering about salat. Buying our daughters beautiful garments for prayer, as you heard me say. Brothers, please make an effort to do this. Buying our daughters and our wives beautiful garments for prayer. This is your job. They are your queens and princesses. You should invest in them. Give them what they want. And you can give them the perfumes as well, and scented oils and whatnot. And so forth and so on. And excuse me, I got background. Okay, excuse me. And so this would encourage dutiful prayer and on time. When our daughters have special clothing, they know for the prayer, because pops have bought these things, the hijab, scarves, and so forth and so on for her, and the abayas and so forth. Beautiful things. And same with our sons. They're under your care. You buy your sons beautiful tobes and kufis. So that way when it's time for prayer, they'll feel proud, because he's your prince. He's your prince. He's going to take over after you. He's your prince. You guide him. So you give him beautiful robes and kufis to don when he makes the prayer inside of his house. That's your responsibility, brothers. This is why it's more to, as a Muslim man inside the house, you have a big responsibility. Brothers, I can't stress this. Educating our sons to take over the salat. Get the knowledge, brothers, and get your sons up to speed. So when he's 16, or if he's 12, 13, 14, he can lead the salat inside the house by you teaching him in your absence. And this teaching them as a precursor to their marriage and being the head of their respected households. You're training him at an early age. He's 12 years old, but now he's already leading the salat in the house when you're not there, because you've trained him well. This is your job, brothers, to do that, not your sisters. The brothers, pops, he should be doing this. It's coming upon you, brothers, to get our princess, our prince inside the house to be up to speed so he can lead the house when you're not there. "13, equipping our wives with beautiful garments," you heard me say, and hijabs. Buying a variety of gorgeous prayer rugs. You know what, brothers and sisters will tell you this. You go get clothes and matching rugs. This is a beautiful thing. You see the sisters on that. You see the rug matches her garments. You can do this. And the sisters love this. This is why I say, brother, establishing a home, establish the salat in a home is about 90% of it is you. That's why I say it's more than just making prostration and establishing salat inside the house. There's all these other variances to it, and all these other integral parts to it we're talking about now. So we have our queen next to us. We have a beautiful Muslimah, our wives. You beautify her. You give her the clothes that she wants in the bias for the salat and the matching rugs. If she says, I want this particular rug, it's a gold color with green, whatever the situation is, and it matches my abaya, you give her what she wants. And you'll see the rewards from that, brother. You'll see the rewards. Keeping this prayer place clean and honorable. The man's responsibility for that too, but this falls more on our sisters. It's your responsibility to make sure this place is prepared and ready. So when your husband comes home, or whatever the situation may be, he comes in to the prayer area and you already have the mats set out. for him and for the family. Prayer inside the house is strongly encouraged all family members. When you make your prayer, don't everybody run off to their rooms in their respective areas, because now they want, everybody wants to run back to the TV, the basketball game, football game. I understand that. I love football and basketball well too. I'm human. Sometimes I be thinking, I say, I got to hurry with salat. The devil's talking to me because I want to hurry see St. Jackson State football, because I like Jackson State, because my favorite football player one time was Deion Sanders. And so, I may want to rush to hurry up, but we should not do this. And so we make the salat, and then we go to hug one another, and we give well wishes to our sons and daughters. This is a beautiful thing, brothers, to establish this, and it's you to establish that. After you make the taslim, Salamu alaikum, rahmatullah, Salamu alaikum, rahmatullah. Now you turn and you go and you face the family, and maybe you make a nafila. Not nafila, but you're making your dhikr. And say after your dhikr, now you go to face the family and you say beautiful things to him. Fi mani Allah, may subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you. You say things to the family, and everybody hugs, embrace. Then everybody goes about into the room. Your daughter's going there because she's got her girlfriends waiting for her to talk. Their brother's he's got his crew waiting for him to get back on the internet so they can have a conference, talk about something or whatever situation may be. And your wife, she may have additional cooking to do, or she may have the baby to take care of. So everybody now go back to their respective things that they were doing. This is important, brothers and sisters. And lastly, I want to show some things to you to help you as far as the salat. And here we have the area placement of how can I say the salat is. You see the husband and wife say number one. This is in Arabic, but the kafiya salat jama'at fi bayt. This is the characteristics of establishing the salat in the house. And you see the number one here. You see the man and the son. The boy is right next to his father. Now say you see number two is the pops and two brothers. Okay, the two sons, And then you see here, maybe it's the husband and wife. These are all the placement where what we should be doing inside the house. You see the husband and wife never prays together, aside one another, never. The husband is always in front. He's the leader, he's the imam, and is there. Say you have two sons, and the two sons, and you have maybe your wife. You see number 5 there. You see the imam, the husband, pops, and then he's got his two sons and his wife. And say he's got two sons and he's got two daughters, and say he's got a wife, or he's got two sons and one daughter. You see the placement. He's the imam. He's got his two sons there, and he's got his wife and his daughter behind him. So these are some of the things, brothers and sisters, that will help you. Again, this is just basic things that we do to help out to help out in the salat. So you get an indication inside the house to establish the salat, how you do this. And it's very important, brothers and sisters, that you do. Here's another example of this. You see again how you're supposed to establish the salat, and it has to be in this correct order. And this is the man's responsibility to do this. And again, you see the conditions, the son, the wives. And say you have your brother come over, your blood brother. He comes over to the house, and his wife comes. Your brother is just only one brother, so he's praying next to you, and the wives in the back. And say you got two brothers who come, then the two brothers must go back behind the imam, and then the wives go back in the back. Say those two brothers you have, and they have 4 sons. If the area is big enough, all the sons are in the first row, and then to say the daughters to your nieces and so forth in the back row. So this is the thing to help you for those. This is refreshing. I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm just giving it so those perhaps who have not established the prayer good enough inside the house yet. And this is why I'm showing you this. And I've talked about this. The fundamentals. I told you we go back to the fundamentals because we've lost that. We have people now. I must say this. We have people who do not do this. We have people who don't understand this. We have people who don't understand how you're supposed to pray inside the house, and they do weird things. I've seen this. I've had to correct some people inside the house because they've forgotten about this basic fundamental here of establishing the salat inside the house. I've seen this many times, and we're mistakes because they've forgotten. And so again, showing you the examples of this. And so, brothers and sisters, we're getting near the end of this here, and I wanted to give you this short little, well, I've been long, excuse me, which I'm noted for, to give you the ins and outs of establishing. This is some of it, okay, some of it. There's more to it, but establishing the ins and out of the slide inside the house, and especially the placement of the family. This is important. I've seen many things that shouldn't be, but because they forgot or they weren't taught. This is why I'm talking about the basics here now to help us in that salat. And it's important, brothers, it's important to do those things that is essential to establish the house as a place of worship. So when I enter that house, I can feel the malaika in it because you established salat in it. This is important, brothers and sisters. And I hope that you learned something today because we should learn together. We should always have refresher courses. Maybe some of you forgotten about the establishment of the prayer in the house because of the rat race that you live in Philadelphia, you living in Jackson, Mississippi, or the ATL or whatever place you may be in the rat race that you're in. You're not establishing the house as a place of worship because you're rushing through everything. The next time, inshallah, I'll give you the ins and outs about certain prayers that no one hardly talks about. And I'll talk about some of the benefits of these prayers. You said, well, what are you talking about? I will explain this, inshallah, to Ayla to give you the ins and outs about that to help you when you've established that prayer inside the house and give you the conditions for these certain type of prayers inside the house, inshallah, to Ayla. So my brothers and sisters, I want to say to you, those who support me, Jazakallah khairan, I really appreciate that. And spread this tape and subscribe to me on YouTube. And you can check out the rest of my tapes, even the Pan-Africanism. I have some tapes in there. I have some tapes on the African Arab and relationship with the black man and so forth and so on. You can revisit with that and some of the other courses I have inside there. And so I will leave you, brothers and sisters, with our beautiful, beautiful words of Jinnah. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.